What is up, movie friends, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Moonfall.
What's the plan?
Save the moon, save Earth.
It is the newest sci-fi movie from writer and director Roland Emmerich. It stars Patrick Wilson, Halle Berry, Michael Pena, and not Josh Gad, definitely I think it's John Bradley, the guy who plays Sam from the Game of Thrones series, who I thought was Josh Gad the entire movie, and it might as well have been because he sucks. The premise of this movie is that the moon is out of orbit, and astronauts like Halle Berry's character and Patrick Wilson's character need to figure out how to get it back into orbit, and then it turns into some, like I said, sci-fi, but more on the non-realistic aspect of it all. This takes parts of like Gravity, Armageddon, and then Good Will Hunting, which is what John Bradley's character, he kind of brings into the fold. And everything about this movie is pretty much awful. Like the dialogue, all of that just feels so jumbled and like a huge mess. Like most of the first hour of this movie is just characters that you don't get to see together, like characters from the main plot line and then the B plot line are just on phone calls every like a minute and a half, because every scene barely lasts 90 seconds. It's just, hey, I'm going here, hey, I'm going here, see you there, and then you never see them together until maybe the end of the movie. It just felt like they couldn't flesh this idea of the moon falling out of orbit into like an entire 2-hour runtime, and they just used so many different characters to try and fill that runtime that it didn't work as well as they kind of hoped it would. The acting, like I said, is so awful. Halle Berry might give one of the worst performances I have ever seen in the movie. It felt so lazy, like she just maybe showed up for a few days and just kind of stood there, read the lines off like a teleprompter, and then made some fake phone calls and then just disappeared and got her paycheck. Patrick Wilson, who I love in like the Conjuring and the Insidious franchises, doesn't work in this at all. Like, he doesn't bring much to the table. I think he just doesn't work well outside of horror films, so maybe he should go back to that realm. Maybe work with James Wan again, because I just did not like him in this. Michael Pena definitely has A-list billing, but he seems to play a really B-list actor in this movie because he's in the B-plot most of the time, and he brought absolutely nothing to the table. He was just kind of there. He wasn't funny because he plays like a new husband of Patrick Wilson's ex-wife, because of course he's some like bad guy astronaut because of something he did not mess up but did mess up 10 years prior to when this movie takes place. I don't know, that whole plot line just made no sense. But yeah, Michael Pena brought nothing to the table. He just felt like he was here for a paycheck as well. And John Bradley or Josh Gad or tries to be funny fat guy comic relief, just a waste of time in this movie. He's the most unfunny side character I have seen in a very, very long time. I hated every second he was on screen, and I don't want to see him in any more movies, but I'm pretty sure he's in a movie called Marry Me coming out very soon, and not excited on that. As far as the directing goes, obviously Roland Emmerich is like known for his oh my gosh, the world's ending type movies, and that's what this is again. And I was looking forward to kind of seeing different cities destroyed, because it's cool what they can do with the CGI and all that, but you barely get to see that in this movie. And the aspects you do get to see of that felt so poorly lit and like muddled, and it just felt like reused footage from some of Roland's old movies, but like he was using a cell phone to record his old movies on a different TV screen and then just kind of threw it in this movie. That's how bad it looked throughout every scene that you saw, like floods or the gravity pulling everything up from the earth. The best aspects of this movie, if you can call them the best, were like some of the destruction scenes though. So I'll take a little bit back of what I just said. But anything that had to do with an asteroid, like the moon was kind of falling apart as it was coming closer to Earth. So there was a bunch of asteroids and rock falling into the earth, and those scenes sounded really well. Maybe that was just the best part. I'm like, oh, that sounded cool. It was the first thing that like made me want to pay attention to this movie, was just the boom. After you get through like the first 45 minutes to an hour of just all these characters on the phone with each other and not saying anything of importance, this movie just comes to a dud, where it goes to all these B-plot characters like Patrick Wilson's son, Halle Berry's son or daughter, I forgot. And they tried to make it dramatic, like with looters and people trying to steal things from them, like their car. And no, didn't need it. Very unnecessary. And then there's just a lot more of that. And then we finally get to the climax. I'm not going to spoil anything, even though I don't think it really matters. But they obviously get to the moon to try and stop whatever entity or thing that is causing the moon to come down to Earth. And it felt so rushed and dumb. And they could have used a lot more time kind of getting into that and explaining it instead of wasting the first hour with conversations. I just didn't like the way they handled this ending, with just the way they forced this weird, not really twist, but just crap ending down your throats. It could have been handled a lot better with these high caliber actors. Like maybe there could have been some better dialogue, or they could have had some more emotion brought into this whole thing. But they just didn't do anything at all. In the end, this is just a very dumb sci-fi movie that just felt like Moon Conspiracy, the movie. Because I don't even think I brought that up, but John Bradley's character is just like a conspiracy theorist, and that's how he kind of gets involved in the whole NASA aspect, exploration part of this movie. I know Neil deGrasse Tyson always kind of gives his thoughts on the realistic parts of all these sci-fi movies. And I really hope he doesn't waste his time watching this movie. And I don't think you should either, because I'm going to give this a Red Vines rating. It's awful. It's garbage. Don't seek it out in theaters. Don't rent it. Don't spend a single cent or a single second of your life on it. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe so you can see every video as it comes up on YouTube. And if you want, I will leave a link in my description below of my Letterboxd account, where you can see my continuous rankings of 2022 movies as the year goes on. And I will see you next time at the movies.